Most people are broke. Lamborghini Salesman actually is confirming this. Goodness
So
me.
how many people walk into the Lamborghini dealership pretending to be rich, pretending to be a buyer? And what are the tells?
Yes, absolutely. People come in with their fake watches and, overly designer clothes, and that they're trying to pretend that they can buy something and they can't. They're just trying to get a test drive or something like that. And I can relate to that because I did that many times as a high schooler, trying to go out and test drive interesting cars with some success. But you can't let those people waste your time when you actually have a job to do. And it really doesn't take long in the way that you should sell a car to ask the right questions that they would just not have even thought about, like how they're actually going to use the car, how it relates to other goals that they have, why they want it and what they believe it is versus what you have to explain it actually is, and things like that. And so if they're just itching to get in the car immediately, let's go, then that they weren't going to buy it anyway. But if you can actually have a conversation with someone and they've got a reasonable approach to the idea of purchasing this car, in most cases you can end up with knowing really, really quickly how hard it's going to be for them to do so. Now, the ones that are stretching are the best kinds of customers. The ones that can easily write the check are the hardest to motivate to actually do so. But somebody who knows, like, look, I may be hard to get financed because of this, and this, and they're very forthcoming about that, then those times, you do stand a really, really good chance of getting this person into a car because you probably have more financing resources at your disposal than they may know about or things like that. And so it's really just about asking a lot of questions and making sure that you're framing them in a very positive way and where their answers will become the reasons that they should want to purchase the car.
How often is it that someone comes in and they're just making a terrible financial decision that this person can technically qualify, but it's not smart whatsoever? Is that common? And has there ever been a situation where you've just said, "Hey, man, we could get you this car, but
What a good question, Graham. You shouldn't buy this car. I mean, dude, you're broke. You're barely living.
But it's not smart whatsoever." Is that common? And has there ever been a situation where you've just said, "Hey, man, we could get you this car, but you probably shouldn't do this"?
Well, as you first framed that question, I was going to say, well, in 2013, we got a McLaren franchise. And so that early in McLaren's current existence, they were miserably unreliable cars. And so they would all break. Always. The failure rate of these cars in the first week of ownership, where they may have come back in on a tow truck or at least had some very meaningful fault, was 100%. And so when you would sell them, in most cases, they were pretty profitable deals because there was a lot of enthusiasm and excitement for the cars. So you made good money, but you knew this was going to become a problem always. And so in that regard, there were times where people were buying cars that you knew were troublesome, and you would at least try to help them to understand that. I know that you love Lotuses, but the best way to sell someone on a lease is to try to talk them out of it. And, you'll tell them, hey, they're not super comfortable and they're not easy to get into, especially if you or park next to somebody oh yeah, I love that. It's a nice car. It's just remove everything. And then, they're not that expensive in terms of parts, but they do go through tires and brakes really fast. Oh yeah, for handling, that's awesome. I love that. I'm gonna do it myself and all this stuff. And it is a Honda motor, but you want to make sure that it's maintainable, or Toyota and stuff. And they're like, oh yeah, that's so cool. It's gonna be more reliable. It's gonna go 100,000 miles. I'm gonna drive it all the time. But if you hurt the clamshell, it's really expensive, so just make sure that you've got good insurance and just be careful, don't bump into stuff. Oh yeah, I love that. It's so light. And they're just talking themselves into it over and over and over again, and it's they always buy them. No one can go look at a Lotus and not buy it. Unless it breaks while they're driving it or catches on fire, which happens. But in terms of a financial decision where somebody is really in a rough spot, again, most of the time, those people are stretching so hard to be able to buy these cars, and they know, and they're all well aware, I can't sell this car because I have so much negative equity that I'm rolling from the next one. I had this guy, nicest guy in the world, just had kind of a normal job, made low six figures and had owned an Aston Martin DB9 for a really long time. And we did a lot of really long-term car financing, these like 12-year, 15-year loans. And, if the car doesn't go down in value, that can be a great way to own it. And so he owed effectively $100,000 on a $50,000 car because Astons depreciate like crazy. And he didn't want to put much money down. And so he just wanted to have a newer car. And that's a hard thing to do because effectively, if you're trading a $50,000 car for a $150,000 car, you can adjust the numbers up. So you get $100 for your trade and you pay $200 for the new car. And so you're still paying the same $100,000 delta. The bank doesn't know that the numbers were different. But that's too much to hide. Like hiding 20,000, maybe 30,000, maybe hiding 50 grand takes some doing. And we tried so many deals, and I ended up selling him an Aston Martin Virage when we got an incentive on those back in 2012, and he was the happiest guy in the world. Now, he owed, at that point, at least 100 more than that car was going to be worth immediately, but he loved it, and that was his thing, and he was going to probably pay it for 5, 6, 7 years, and he was fine with it.
So when you see people driving like really expensive exotic cars, what percentage of those people have them financed and can barely afford them?
It's going to vary a little bit by market and by demographic, but I would say 75% are financed.
I have to say that those cars behind them absolutely sick. I don't know if you're a car guy, but we're trying to become financially independent so you can afford the nicer things in life, And plus, if you buy a car that keeps its value anyways, you're really just depositing your money somewhere else and you can take it out later if it appreciates. Use it wisely.
Certainly in my sales experience.
I'd say that's generally...
Okay, cool. So this is the part where the subscribers told me. This is the sickest part.
Like that's... I feel like especially a lot of... I could be wrong here, but like girls, they'll see a guy driving a nice car, they're like, ooh, he's got money. But you'd say that's generally not the greatest
If
belief.
you're driving a supercar that's less than 5 years old, you should not assume that person has a lot of money. It is.
Wow. How crazy is that, Skip?
That is
Really?
Yeah. If they're driving, an iconic vintage or significant car, something that's 10, 20, 30, 40 years old, for sure, there's a really good chance because those are harder to finance. But if they've got a brand new Huracan, no.
Interesting.
Didn't the Dave Ramsey millionaire study show that most millionaires drive Toyotas?
Yeah, Toyotas, Hondas, and the F-150 pickup trucks.
That could be skewed.
Yeah, but that data is massively skewed because most millionaires are retired.
Fair.
So most millionaires are 60 plus years old. If
That
you
is a
ask
great
what
point. Yeah.
millionaires under the age of 40 drive, it would be BMWs,
story,
Mercedes,
right?
Audis. I mean,
Those three
It's-
brands.
Believe it or not, the Tesla Model Y and Model 3 were the most common in Reddit Fat Fire. But that
Interesting.
skews to a lot of California, Vancouver.
Right.
Would you drive a Tesla? Let me know. Let's see some of this comment section. Don't go broke pretending to be rich. Best advice ever. And I've always found it funny how billionaires and multi-millionaires, they're always simple. They dress very simple. They're not head to toe Gucci'd out of their mind. Might as well just write Gucci billboard on your forehead. I've always found it fascinating as well how the owner of Gucci and all of these stuff, they're not themselves Gucci'd head to toe. So it's very telling. What is that movie that's really sick? It's really amazing. House of Gucci? Is it House of Gucci? House of Gucci, I think. House of... I'm gonna show you guys on screen literally right now. I think it's House of Gucci. House of Gucci. Yeah. You should watch House of Gucci. You're seeing the results right now. It's got Lady Gaga in it. Absolutely amazing film. Absolutely. I can't remember. I think it was one of the subscribers that put me on House of Gucci. I watched it. I was like, wow, sick. I don't want to ruin it for you, but trust me, if you're an entrepreneur, I at least suggest you checking it out. I don't really watch movies because you want to remain sharp, still in the game. But if you've done all your non-negotiables for the day, you've ticked the list and you want a movie to watch, definitely watch it. I mean, let's see the comment section. Let me mute it so it doesn't violate us with copyrights. And then see the comments. Honestly, I had no idea Lady Gaga could act like this. Yep, 100%. You'd be like, whoa. I wasn't expecting that. Finally, yeah. So honestly, Look, I don't want to ruin it. Because the comments can even ruin it for you. Go check it out. Like, subscribe, share. Link in the description. Patreon. Go support. God bless.